hop in here and get started. Thank you, sir, for taking a minute out. Great to meet you.
Sure, absolutely.
So, I want to begin our conversation with 4 years ago, we were wrapping our heads around this pandemic. How long is it going to last? How is it going to affect? What are the residuals? How did you survive that time period, and how did it ultimately change you?
Yeah, it was a tough time. So, as you may know, businesses, I have a real estate business and a music school business, and obviously, everybody's life is revolved around the work they do. And for me, the music school was, uh, w- uh, it's like everybody comes to take lessons in person. So, I have like a restaurant concept that people come and sit down go to a restaurant. So we weren't prepared, like many of the businesses weren't prepared to handle online. So we had to do classes online, and we did lose, but we survived. And I think as business people, as human beings, we learn. If you learn to survive, and so we were able to do that. There were a couple of funny stories. So one of the funny stories that I remember is, we have a lot of kids. So we have kids, and we teach adults as well. So we had a lot of young kids, like 5, 6 year olds, and they're super smart. So what they started doing was, and we didn't realize this, that they would hop on these calls in group piano classes, and they would turn off their cameras, and they would just go around and play or something, and their parents wouldn't know what was going on. And so we had to very quickly figure out that, hey, this is not going to work for young kids because they just couldn't sit. But it was something that we all learned from, and we survived. But yeah, I mean, we learned that you know things can wipe out things. I mean, there were many businesses in our community. I live in North Dallas, and they were wiped out within 3 weeks. There were restaurants that were really large, doing very well. There were 3 weeks they were out of business.
Yeah.
So learned a lot of
Yeah.
lessons.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do in 2024 on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, third graders. It's career day. One of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Yeah. Well, having experience teaching children, I understand you gotta simplify it. So I would tell them that I do two kinds of work. I have a music school where we teach children and grown-ups musical instruments. And I have another business where I teach other people how to buy real estate and make money out of it.
Those are two
That would be
very
the easiest way
different.
to do it.
Yeah, those are two very different worlds. Take me back to where you were born and raised and how this entrepreneurial spirit of being in real estate and music, how did those become you?
Sure, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Pakistan, and I grew up there, middle class. I was just lucky. I went to a private school, and we had a band, and so I had kind of formal music training in brass band, and from grade 5 to grade 10. So that was the fundamental. And then I'm just going to really move forward and just kind of give you a summary. I became a session musician. I started writing music, and I think I was 17 or around that age when I was signed up with EMI Pakistan, which is EMI label, doing my first instrumental album. So I that's where I first wrote my original music composition, did a lot of work. While I was still in Pakistan, I was writing for Keyboard Magazine, which is a major publication for, it's still around, I think, but it was a huge deal in the 80s. So that's what my music background was. So when I moved to States, I did a course with Berkeley in music production, and that opened up more doors for me. And I worked with sound libraries, and we had some music placements that I still got mechanical royalties for. So that, but very quickly realized that, you can't make a living uh, just writing music, unfortunately. And so around that time, I was also dabbling with real estate. I was buying homes, and just got better as I did, learn by mistakes, and, by learning. And so here I am now, having 20 years of experience in real estate as well as as a business owner.
So, talk to me a little bit about who heroes have been for you. Who's been an inspiration, whether musically or otherwise, in your life?
Yeah, that's let's see, let me think. Well, in terms of inspiration, I love history, so I read a lot of biographies, love to learn about people. I think as an American hero, Benjamin Franklin has been a real inspiration. I think he was one of the most profound human beings in American history. Not as a scientist, as a politician, as a businessman, philanthropy, civic leader. I mean, the first library, first fire station. I mean, all these ideas that you would think came from him. And also a businessman, a very successful businessman, how he ran his businesses. And so I think that was very inspirational when I read his biography. I've actually read two or three versions. And learned a lot from that as well. So I've used that as a now obviously not nobody's perfect. He had his flaws, his relationship with his children and that kind of thing. But you learn these things that nobody's perfect, but there are great people in our history that have something that we can learn from. So he's definitely one of the people I would say.
So, if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating and you could spend time with them, who would that be?
Yeah, you know, interesting. I would say it should be the Dalai Lama. And I say that because I like keeping myself around people who are better than I think in his case he's a spiritual person. And I think you just have this great energy and vibe when you're around somebody who's spiritual. I've seen his interviews and he just sounds an incredible person. And in general, I like to surround myself with, people who are smarter than me. And that's why I'm on this call with you, and I think that's how you improve.
So, let me ask you a music question. What was the first live concert that you saw that really blew you away?
Um, hmm. Well, this was back in Pakistan, and it was a band that was very popular. So it's interesting. And the guys in that band were also session musicians, and they used to come to EMI studio where I used to record. And this was the first time that there was a breakthrough for this band. And so for me, that was pretty exciting. But since then, relatively recently, I saw Billy Joel live, which I never got an opportunity to do. He was here in Dallas. He's been here twice. But the last time he was here was like 4 years ago, and this guy is what, in his 70s?
Yeah,
And he just plays exactly the way he used to play,
yeah,
20, 30, 40 years ago. And he sings,
yeah.
hitting all those notes. That is just incredible. So I was really impressed with that as well.
He is incredible. Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad's my grandfather had a sister that was married to a relative of Billy Joel. So I used to get autographed pictures when I was a kid.
Wow.
And, that was like at the height of his powers. And it used to be kind of a talking point. It was fun. But yeah, my dad's from Long Island. Um,
Oh,
he was,
okay.
he was born in Brooklyn, raised in Long Island. So that's where Billy Joel's from. So all of that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I actually got to interview his horn player in his band.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was just a gig that he kind of fell into. And can you imagine that? Just being a brass player falling into a Billy Joel orbit. I mean, dude, that's dreamy right there, you
Just
know?
to be around him. And
Yeah.
now that's one of my things is I noticed that his band, um they were all folks, maybe not his age, but they were like people who've been around.
Uh-huh.
They weren't like young people, just he just grabbed them. These were people that probably have been playing with him for like 20 years or more.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. No, he's got very seasoned people around him, and yeah, he's an amazing story for sure. For sure.
I
Um,
also had a quick question for
yeah,
you. I'd like to
sure.
learn more about your other podcasts that you do.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
It's Neon Jazz. It's been around since 2011. and I go from old world jazz to new world, and I kind of try to build a bridge between both of the worlds to give kind of a history of jazz. But yeah, long story short, I was doing some freelance writing. I used to be a sports journalist, and I got on the inside, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I kind of floundered around. I got in IT, and I'm an IT technician for a school district by day. So I was also doing some journalistic stories, and I ran I ran across a raccoon from the thrift store, from a Radio Shack raccoon with a radio in it. And I put it on my porch and I dialed it in. And this show called The Neon Beat came on, and it was the American Songbook, Rat Pack, all those cats.
Okay.
So I reached out to the guy and did an article on him. And he just happened to live 4 blocks away from me. He was an engineer by day and had all this radio equipment in his garage. And he said, why don't you
Oh,
write a script and come over to my house? He's one of my best friends. John Christopher is his name. He's one of my best
okay.
friends of all time. And I've done the show ever since. And my whole idea of doing the show was I'm not going to read about this music from a book. I'm going to interview musicians. And it just kind of morphed out and turned into different things. And that's
That's
kind of,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. I'm gonna put it on my list because I listen to all genres, and
yeah,
jazz is something that I'm, getting myself educated on. And you might know this guy. I came across his songs. Tatum, uh, that's his first name. Tatum. Do you know if you heard of him? He was one of the most amazing pianist, an African American guy.
uh-huh,
Tatum, I forgot his last name. But anyway, if you just put his name on YouTube, you find him.
yeah,
His hands when he plays these riffs
yeah,
and these are really old recordings, but
yeah.
even in those recordings, you see the smoothness in which he plays those riffs. I've rarely seen players play so smoothly and
But
effortlessly.
oh, Kadem Al Shair.
No, no, no,
No, no,
no,
no,
no.
that's not him.
No, that's not him.
Kadem.
Um, you probably know him. Maybe I'm
Yeah, well, yeah, when you find it, yeah, let me know, and I would love
yeah.
to take a listen. I love that's the one thing I
Art
always,
Tatum.
what is it?
Art
Oh
Tatum.
my, Art Tatum, absolutely, man. He is one of the early practitioners that really just knew how to tear it up. So yeah, yeah,
Right, right.
yeah,
And I was surprised because I mean I play piano and keyboard, right? That's my main instrument. Is that not only was the riffs that he was playing were a little different than the other jazz musicians, but how smooth was he playing them? Because a lot of musicians they have these what do you call that? Like you can play it, the timing is rather good, but it's not as smooth, and which is
yeah,
fine. That's the human nature of it. But the
sure.
way he plays is there's just incredible,
Oh yeah. Yeah, he is
So
his acumen as a musician, he's seen as one of the best ever. I mean, hands down, if you really, really get people that have been in the jazz craft and study it, Art's
yeah.
right up there. He's amazing. Yeah.
And I think he couldn't see from one of his eyes. I think he was either blind or there was some, in the pictures they were talking about that. But anyway, yeah. So I'll be listening to your podcasts on jazz and learn something from it.
Absolutely. I would love it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's fun. This is a passion project for sure. So,
Awesome.
so speaking of someone like Art and people that are highly driven in their lives, what's that motivation for you to do the work that you do, to have a school that teaches the next generation and to help people in real estate? What gets you out of bed every day? What gets you to evolve as a human?
Yeah, I think so. I'm 59 and a half, and as you get older, you started taking things and learning lessons from it. So I just want to get better at everything that I do, from health, from spirituality, learning, understanding my environment. So that's my motivations. Every day I wake up, I like to do something that I can improve myself. And I think that is really the driving force. And once we get to that stage, I think it helps everyone look at themselves and every day see, well, where am I lacking? What can I do to overcome that? And so that's what my motivation is.
So, what's been one of your favorite success stories in all of your business ventures?
You know, um, I love it so I've had lots of kids that I taught over the years, probably over 1,000. And the kids that I started teaching when they were 5 and they're now in college. And some of them, I think all of them have taken None of them have taken music as major, which is fine because you know how it is to be a musician in this day and age. You can't make a living. I mean, but they all have music as a minor, and they all have music as an important part of their life. And I think for me, that's very. I feel great when I hear that. I've played some small part in having music as part of their life.
So when your life as an entrepreneur and a teacher, you have to give out good advice. I'm curious, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Yeah, from a university professor. It was a couple of years, quite a bit long back. So I wrote a paper, and I forgot. I think it was about um the Russian. It wasn't about the Russian economy. It was something about, I forgot what it was, but it was something to do with Russia. And I did a lot of research. I pulled in a lot of data, and a lot of references, and I got a like a C in it, and I was really disappointed. So I went over and I asked him, and he was. This is what I love about people who are educated and understand something called context. And he looked at me and he looked at the paper and he said, "Yeah, you got a lot of references, you got a lot of data in there. All I wanted to know was what you think about it." And that's all he said. And it was simple, but it was very profound. And I think for all of us, we need to understand and bring our take to it, whether it's music, whether it's business. And if you look at all people who've been business successful in business, they bring something to the table that is different than what has been done before. And I think that's for me, it has helped me kind of think about things and always apply that to other things, whether it's business or is music school or real estate.
I remember I interviewed a musician that was originally from Kansas but lived out in San Francisco in the area out there. And we got to the end of our interview, and this was early on. I'd started the show in 2011. It was about 2013. She got to the end. She said, "Can we do this interview again? Because when we talked before and after, I really felt your personality, and it didn't happen during the interview." And I was kind of taken aback. But
Mm,
at the same time, I was like, you know what? I think she's onto something, and it really was a stepping stone. And it's like you said, I think
right,
it's really good. Sometimes as a journalist, you want to stay objective, but I think that when you put your own self in, contextually speaking,
right.
which is exactly what you said, that's the caveat. It really makes everything kind of come to life. And you ultimately want people to listen and to feel it.
Yeah,
And if they don't
yeah,
feel
that's
the
the whole.
soul, you know,
Absolutely.
and you know that you're a practitioner of music. The only way that people are going to respond is if it's genuinely coming from the right spot in your heart,
Absolutely, absolutely,
you know.
100% right. I had a kid yesterday. He's one of those kids who's like, he's playing music, but he's holding back,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this is typical, right? And then just yesterday, his teacher told me that, oh, he's improvising. I said, what? And that's extremely on the other
Yeah.
end. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, wow, that's
Yeah.
what we want from all of our students.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So of all of the things that you've done and accomplished and overcome and become in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Sorry, repeat the last
What,
part.
yeah, what are you the proudest of?
Oh, proudest. Yeah, I would say, at the end, it comes down to as a human being, what I've been proud of would be, my kids. I mean, to be able to raise kids. I have three kids. One is working, another one is a freshman in college, and my daughter is in high school. And for them to be good human being and be successful. So for me, that would be the proudest thing because whatever you do in life, and whatever you do as a living work that earns you money, at the end, everything comes down to what do you do with all the wealth, the knowledge. You bring it home, you do something for your family, and then you do something for your community. So I would say family wise, business, there's highs and lows in business. Everybody has that. So to be proud is, you have to be careful. People get arrogant when they are very successful. So I like to keep a check on that. So yeah, I would say my family. I'm really proud of, our kids and kids we raise.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends,
Yeah.
colleagues, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Yeah, that's incredible. That is something that I've been actually thinking about quite a bit. And the more I think and the older you get, you realize that they are distortions. You have distortion about yourself. You have distortion about the environment, what people think. What people think of things that you think may be completely different where they're coming from. So, so I'm always making sure that I put myself and understand that I make mistakes and I need to learn about things before I have a position on it. So, as a person, I want to now base my understanding and judgment about things based on either data or facts rather than emotions. And we are all human beings. I mean, emotion is part of us. But when we make a position that makes us who we are, it's important that we base it on data and facts rather than just emotions. And I think for me, that was one thing that have made me realize who I am. And to get better as a human being is to understand these distortions. And the more you do that, the more you realize how little you know,
Yeah.
and that's why you want to surround yourself with more intelligent people, people from other background, people from other point of view. It's hard, in this day and age to even have a conversation with people who have completely opposite views than you do.
Yeah.
But it makes it even more important for us as citizens.
Absolutely. So, Amir, Dream Prime Homes, is that the best place to go if anyone wants to reach out, find out about what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, excellent. Amir, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for opening up your world. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you again, Joe. And
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
going to be listening to your podcast, and we'll stay in touch.
I love it. Yeah, and I'll drop in Art Tatum for you.
All right. Thanks, man. All
Take
right.
care.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye bye.